Hello and welcome to another modelling video. Today we're going to continue with the airbrush tutorial series by painting a high grade kit from priming all the way to touch-ups and top coat. First we're going to look at preparation. Airbrushing does go through a lot of preparation stages, as we've seen in the previous videos, but here I'm going to show what the kit needs. First, a lot of the places where the kit's not painted or presented on these high grades need to be supported so you can hold them, and secondly, certain points that are connected together needs to be plugged. As you can see, I've used blue tack. I've separated all the pieces in different colours that I wish to paint. I'm using a very similar pattern as the original kit's design, yet I'm using different colours. Things like polycaps and joints are not going to be painted and will need plugging with blue tack. As we can see here, most of the pieces are supported by blue tack and toothpicks or alligator clips. These could be inserted into styrofoam, or a more professional stand can be used. I'll be using primer, which we all remember is a lacquer based paint, and the normal preparation is required of stirring and thinning with thinner. Again, if I've explained it, putty's quite thick and primer's quite thick and requires a lot more thinning than normal paint, so about half is a good start. I do plan on priming this entire kit, so a fair amount is used, though I'm only going to be painting in batches so I can have a break in between. Each batch is going to be represented each colour, to the reason why they're separated in those little cups, and they're going to be mounted on different bits of styrofoam so they don't get confused later on. Please remember to use a respirator when spraying with lacquer paints. I'm going to use my Citadel airbrush and making my final adjustments. Always do a test spray on a flat surface, not paper. And if you're happy with the spray pattern, you're able to pick up a piece by the stick and start spraying. Always start spraying off the piece and drag across, and always make sure the brush is moving. Once you're finished spraying the piece, you're able to put it in that bit of styrofoam and start spraying the next piece. One bit of advice: when you do have these bits of styrofoam with many pieces on them, try not to have them in the spray booth, as the spray from your airbrush can jump onto pieces, so when you're spraying in different colours you can actually ruin the effect of other pieces. But if you're batching or painting all the pieces the same colour, that's okay. This is an example of a batch of pieces primed and drying and waiting for a coat of colour. Also remember the rules of drying time, and at least allow a day to dry for the pieces to dry before you do lay another coat of paint. Now I'm painting with acrylic paint across the primed and dried pieces with my single action airbrush. Same rules, remember to do sweeping motions and start spraying off the piece. This is a bit of a close look of the pattern of spraying. When you're adjusting the needle, try to have as a fine mist as possible, so when you are brushing onto the pieces it's going on like a mist and you're still able to see the primer through. You can do a few coats to build up to your solid colour, and if you want to prevent running, you can always let it dry and spray it a second time later so you can have the best finish possible. Also, don't pull the brush too far away if it's a fine mist, as paint can dry in the air and stick to the piece, which looks quite ugly. Now that I have all the major pieces coloured in the colour I desire, and smaller foreign pieces in separate different colours, which was painted with my double action airbrush to prevent overspray and waste of paint, I can start looking at bare plastic. I choose to have the face mask and the clear piece on the chest to be bare plastic for various reasons. I would still like them to be protected and to have the same sheen or finish as the kit, so I will brush them with a very heavy coat of clear paint. Unfortunately, with an airbrush, you're not able to paint certain details, nor even paint them with masking, and a paintbrush is required. With extremely tiny pieces like the small triangles on the back of the GN drive, I'm able to use a fine brush and draw paint straight out of the jar and very neatly and slowly colour those areas in. Take your time so you don't have to actually clean up after yourself or remove paint from the already airbrushed surface. If you are not too sure, you're able to put masking tape between the areas that you're hand painting. Slightly larger areas, you're going to want to slightly thin the paint down with acrylic thinner, about half-half ratio, and slowly and neatly again hand paint it on following the previous rules. The only problem is the paint's going to be sort of patchy and not too desirable, which is perfectly fine. Allow it to dry and do a second or third coat. This way you won't get any horrible streaks and your hand painting job will look just as good as your airbrush job. Don't forget to clean your brush after painting and look after the tip so you can have an excellent paint job each time. Once you're finished airbrushing and hand painting and everything has sufficiently dried, while still on the skewers, you'll want to airbrush a clear coat of gloss paint on all of your pieces for added protection. You could do a couple of layers and this will make them a lot more scratch resistant or damage when activating the articulated part of the kit. Afterwards, you're able to remove the blue tack from all the holes and the mounting sticks. When you assemble the kit and certain parts are quite loose, where you've had the blue tack, you're able to glue the kit into certain pieces so they're stronger. This is the layout of all the painted pieces and they will be assembled as follows. At this point, you're free to weather and decal your kit as pleased, and of course change the finish by using matte varnish. Don't forget, in between layers of weathering and decals, add another clear coat. Thank you for watching, and until next time, next week we will look at airbrush maintenance, pulling them apart and cleaning them. Unfortunately, when airbrushing, you could have mistakes or accidents like water going through the brush and splattering on your fresh painted surface, or you drop the piece and you get all sorts of nasty scarring. This is a very easy, quick fix solution by wait until the piece is perfectly dried hard, get a small strip of sandpaper, something in your grits of the high hundreds, low thousands, and wet sand it flat, trying not to damage the plastic or leave as little scratches as possible. Once you have a very nice flat finish, you're able to airbrush that small patch that's discolored from the sanding. This is my first attempt at post-shading and advanced airbrush effects. I would like to teach this in the far future.